My name is Victoria Bedford and I'm a holistic spiritual therapist using tools such as tarot to empower healing. I am a medium and that is other work that I do. But as a spiritual alchemist, my page on YouTube, I have one on Facebook as well if you want to look me up, The Spiritual Herb. My page on YouTube is one to help and empower people to heal. And how do we heal? Well, knowing what's coming is important, I suppose, and can help us understand things in our life. But also, for me, as a spiritual alchemist, I'm looking deep within, looking at the shadow aspects of you, looking at your inner child. So the picker cards that I'm going to be bringing to this page are not always going to be light, okay? There's going to be variations of them, but they're not always going to be light. They're going to start delving in your subconscious. I use psychology as well as my knowledge around healing through, obviously, my own traumas and pain, which I do invite you to look at the rest of my YouTube, because I do have some videos on what I went through and the stuff that I went through. I have videos on how to start your healing journey. But there's lots that sits in our subconscious, okay? There's lots that sits in our subconscious that holds us back, that we're not aware holds us back. So this is what this picker card's going to be. So that's my intro. This is the first picker card that I've done on YouTube, because I do have a subscribers group on Facebook, which I do picker cards for. But I'm like, right, let's bring them to YouTube. You know, sometimes I do have a bit of imposter syndrome and I think, well, why? There's so many people that are doing on YouTube. But, you know, people follow me on Facebook. People love my work. So why not bring my work in all modalities and all aspects? There is going to be a version on here, and then there's going to be a deeper version. So there's going to be an extended version that is going to go on my Facebook subscribers group. So if you do want to join a community that I do on Facebook, it's £3.49 a month, but it's amazing. I do picker cards, I do healing videos, I do lives every Tuesday at 7:30 where I connect with all of those in my group, and we do readings, we do different things, we talk about healing, and I bring all my knowledge and awareness on, you know, how do we heal and get to the best place in our life. So without further ado, go next for pile number 1. Oh, just to let you know, we're going to be looking at what is holding you back. Like, what is holding you back? What stage are you in within your life now? And what is holding you back? And when I mean stage, I mean all of us go through what is called parts of a hero's journey. If you know anything about tarot, you might know about the hero's journey, but we all go through different stages in our life. Endings, beginnings, seeing things clearly, addictions of different kinds, or whether that's thoughts or whatever. So I'm going to first look at what stage are you in your life, what cycle are you in, and what's holding you back, and how can you move forward. Please do comment below if you've enjoyed these readings. Please do comment if you have any questions. Comment and let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're enjoying my page or my work, and just let me know. Anyway, no further ado, again, we'll go to pile 1. Welcome, pile 1. I'm hoping that you can see the pile that, or see your pictures. I am obviously going to be getting used to where the camera is going to be facing and things like that. So I can only pray that it's going to be of good quality. So what stage are you in within your life? What cycle stage are you in? If you have picked pile 1, then you are in the stage of seeing things more clearly. I feel for you, you are possibly going through stuff that is leading you to see things in a different way. This could be in relationship, friendships, this could be life in general. You're starting to see things clearly and you're like, I don't want my eyes opened like this. It may feel uncomfortable. But you are being told that the things that you're seeing clearly are being shown to you for a reason. They're being shown to you because, to a certain extent, you've had your eyes closed. And I remember going through a relationship and having my eyes closed and not seeing them for what they are, but feeling hurt by things. And then as soon as I started to connect to the things that they were doing that was affecting me, I started to see their behaviour more and more and more. And I started to recognise what that behaviour was and how it was impacting me. So when we start to see things more clearly, so you've got the Hierophant, you're connecting to a part of yourself that has possibly lived in some denial. Now, I do feel that you're in a part of yourself now that you're seeing behaviours, whether they're your own or whether they're somebody else's. These behaviours are holding you back. You might be seeing yourself living with fear, or you might be seeing yourself struggling with the behaviours of others and thinking, I'm not going to be able to control these people or have control over their actions. What do I control? And that is yourself. So and you might not even be aware that you're seeing things clearly. You're aware that you're going through shifts. You're going through some shifts in your life right now, which is going, oh, something needs to change and I don't know what. And that's asking you to start looking at things in a different way. Let's see what other card you got. I do feel for you that you have been, there's a part of you, you don't quite know who you are yet. What is holding you back is the fact that you don't quite know who you are. I feel for you that there is a part of you that's shut down, okay? I feel that you have been through three things within your life that have affected you deeply. This may be a relationship breakdown, a death of somebody. There's 3 significant things that have affected you within your life that are almost keeping you trapped because you've been, you may have had a child young, and then you may have had a relationship that was toxic and dealing with that, then you may have had a death. Whatever these 3 things are, they have led you to feel almost so focused. I mean, there will be other things, of course, but so focused on those things that you haven't been able to find yourself. You haven't been able to understand who you are. And I feel this is why you're being drawn to this card of seeing things clearly. Because you have spent a lot of focus on what has been going on within your life. You've spent focus on nurturing other people, focus on maybe connection, maybe building a relationship. This doesn't necessarily say that you're going through a bad time within your life, but it does say that this period in your life is for you to level up, is to start seeing things in a different way. How much are you giving to yourself, to others? I do feel that you're being called to, I don't know whether this is something you've already researched or, to connect to your higher self. Whether it's a meditation, I do have a meditation on my page, on this YouTube page, have a look, connecting to your higher self. The higher self is the part of you that has the answers. It's the part of you that knows what's right for you. This doesn't ever come from fear. Your higher self is divine beauty. It's love and it's light. And your higher self knows that you're feeling trapped right now. You're feeling confined by people and situations. I feel that you've been very protective of yourself, but you're starting to be more vulnerable with yourself. You're starting to realise that you're wanting to feel freer. You're wanting to, I feel like maybe you like music, and I don't know if you love to dance, but whether you're drunk or not, but there's a part of you that wants to start feeling free and connecting with yourself. So let's have a look at what's holding you back further and how can you start. You have become used to comfortableness. I feel for you that you have such a passion for creating a life that feels good enough for you. Whether this is focusing on job roles and children and people around you. You have been taught to focus externally on you. You may not fully know what it means to be spiritual, to connect with yourself, or maybe you do, but you've lost your way a little bit. You've got caught in the humdrum of life, of the 9 till 5 of the work, or maybe you've been caught in an illness or been caught in how life is, and stepping out of that life might feel uncomfortable for you because that means making some changes. I do feel that you have possibly been in your life quite uncomfortable with money, or had things happen in your life that has led you to fear going back there again. Because right now you're clinging on to where you are for dear life. You're almost like, I'm comfortable, I don't want to make many changes because what if things go wrong? But when you do that, you're not allowing growth to happen. When we stay stagnant, meaning we try to stay as comfortable as we can, that doesn't allow growth. If we stay in a job that we've been in for 20 years because that's all we know, or because that brings good money and we're afraid to make changes, you won't feel happy for that. You won't feel at peace with that. If it doesn't feel right for you, you'll feel stagnant, you feel bored, you feel like you don't connect to your job anymore. So this means that change is needed. Does it mean you have to leave that job? No. Maybe apply for a different role. Maybe lessen your hours. Maybe look at your job in a different way so you can start enjoying it again. Same with relationships. You have become passionate about staying comfortable. You've become passionate, whether that's in a relationship, maybe you're single and you're like, no, I don't want a partner. No one's going to hurt me. I'm not letting anyone in. Or if you're in a relationship, nope, I'm happy, but maybe you need more date nights. Maybe you need to spend more time together. I feel that you've become quite comfortable with staying the same. And that's because you've got used to living your life externally, and we do. We believe that life is about external things, the home we build, the job, or even when we're ill, life's about that. But when we start pausing and connecting and looking deep within, we can see that life is about more. It's about feeling good, it's about peace, it's about connection. It's about facing the hard times, knowing we can't always change them. So you're being asked to see things differently in this. Yes, the Page of Pentacles. You're being asked to, what desires did you have when you were younger? Things have happened to you that has led you to disconnect from your inner child. And what do I mean by your inner child? Our inner child is inquisitive, it's spontaneous, and actually sometimes our inner child isn't. If we've been traumatised through things, if we've grown up in a home where there was anger, depression, mental health, someone who worked a lot, or we were bullied at school, we didn't quite build our inner child. We didn't quite enjoy our inner child because our inner child lived in fear. Or our inner child lived in suppression. Allow yourself to reflect on your inner child. As a child or a young adult, did you have to suddenly grow up too quickly and didn't get to start to enjoy life? Because when we grow up too quickly, such as having children or making big life decisions, we don't get to experience the spontaneity and fun that childhood is meant to bring. If you had a good childhood but then something happened in adulthood, have you lost that inner child? That inner child that wants you to start feeling creative. And creative means listening to music, drawing, reading, connecting. Like, this is creativity, doing readings, creating to a part of you that is doing something that is lighting your soul. I do feel there is healing here around your heart. That means that you're not very creative right now. Maybe you can't quite read because you struggle to get into a book. You don't find time to connect to nature. And people say, bollocks, I don't want to do any of that. I'm busy. Well, if you don't make time for connection in different forms, you will make time for illness. And if you're already at the illness point, then you're being called to make time for connection. And you might say, well, I can't get to places of nature. Listen to nature on your phone. Do a meditation. Meditation doesn't have to be about connecting to spirit or visualization. It's about feeling the music. The music changes your inner receptors. It changes your programming because it calms your nervous system. It rewires you in different ways. You're being asked to see things clearly right now because there is an ending of the cycles that are happening within your life. Maybe these cycles of thought patterns that are just keeping you trapped. I'm not good enough. It has to be like this. Life is like this. I've just got to put up with it. You're almost an advocate of happiness for people and creating this life that, wanting to help people and want to be there for people, but you're kind of losing that for yourself. You're busy. I feel that you're somebody that your hands are full, whether you're busy, always talking to somebody else or always doing something, and you're being asked to recognize this busyness that you have. Be vulnerable. It's not lazy to just be. It's not lazy to rest. You don't rest enough. I feel like the eagle is being called in for you, so that's an extra thing that you might want to research, the eagle. That's a spiritual totem animal that's being given to you. You're being asked to rise, when I say rise above your problems, there's two categories. Things we can control and things we can't. And when we start to live in acceptance that we can only do something about the things that we can control, and we start to see things differently in that way, we start to realise that Focusing on the things we can't change is disempowering. The only thing we can change about the things we can't change is us and how we deal with it. So what's holding you back? Oh, the illusions that you're telling yourself. You have 2 major arcana cards. So this is definitely 2 things at play. So the end of the cycle is, not the end of the cycle because you're not going to just get to the end of the cycle, but recognizing that healing a wired brain that you have a monkey mind, my friend. Your brain is wired quite often. You may have quite an inner critic. Now on my page, there's an inner critic meditation. Listen to it. Because you have an inner critic within you. There's a part of you that tells you you're not good enough, you can't do this, you're lazy, you're not making people happy. Life is, there's a part of you that says there's meant to be more to life. I'm not doing it. I've not got enough. I should work more, should do more. I've not got enough money. And those things may be true in the sense that you might feel like you don't have enough money. We don't have to have an awful lot of money to be at peace. We can only pay the bills we can afford. What we can't afford, we have to talk to creditors about. It's only when we bury our head does everything become so overwhelming. When we slowly start to face things head on, debt, or things that are feeling like they're overwhelming us, phoning creditors or getting hold of someone who can empower us to help us phone creditors. And I don't know why I feel like I'm saying that. Maybe you're struggling with money a little bit right now. And you're feeling as if things are going to get no better. But there's always going to be something in life we're going to struggle with. There's always going to be some form of money problems, or there's always going to be something that we could fear going wrong. And what you're called to do is recognize that, finding acceptance in your life. But also maybe you might want to do some work on your mindset. Because working with healing our mind, when you have grown up and you haven't felt good enough for whatever reason, when you have grown up and you haven't had the nurturing of being reaffirmed that you are enough, that you can do it, that things are going to go wrong, but you can find peace anyway, we develop a real heavy inner critic. And this inner critic is our ego. It tells us to stay safe, we have to not speak to friends who are clearly not bothering with us. To stay safe, we shouldn't go for a new job. To stay safe, we shouldn't try and heal our illness through reconnection. We should just accept that we're ill and be hateful towards it. Our mind can't just be healed by telling ourselves our mind is wrong. It's about slowing down and reconnecting to the fact that when your mind tells you you're wrong, challenge it. When my mind tells me I'm not doing enough, I pause and I reflect and I tell myself, yes, I am. I'm going with the flow of my life and I can only do so much. And the more I've started to do that, the more I'm able to be okay with the fact that I don't need to be busy all of the time. When we start to slow down and challenge our mind and start to accept that my mind's telling me I need to be busy because I used to feel like I wasn't good enough. So by being busy, I felt productive. But feeling productive and being productive all of the time is a burnout. What's unconsciously holding you back? Wow, another major arcana. You have lost your power of strength. You may feel strength is just getting through it and I've got to deal with it and take each day as it comes, but that's not actually strength. What that is fighting strength. But there's 2 forms of strength. There's fighting strength and there's also strength that means we need to lean into the fact that to be strong doesn't mean we have to fight it. To be strong means we have to accept it. We have to feel it. We have to understand it. If you are ill right now, accept it. There is potential that you have become this way because you have been so focused on fighting everything. Autoimmune diseases like fibro, chronic fatigue, and anxiety and things like that is because our body has been in fight mode for so long. And actually it's about understanding the need to start slowing your nervous system down and calming it down. Stop fighting everything. This card is saying to you, you've got to change the ways of dealing with things. How you're dealing with things right now is not potentially empowering you. Maybe you shut down. Maybe you just try and deal with it head on and get angry if you can't change it. How we can learn to deal with things is accept what's occurring, knowing that what we can change, we'll deal with. And even if it's really making us angry because we want a different outcome, getting angry about it is not going to change the outcome. It isn't. Getting angry, shouting, screaming, demanding, that won't necessarily change outcomes. And even more so, it means other people meet resistance. People don't want to help us when we go into that kind of way. Shutting down, hiding, pretending it's not occurring, that doesn't help either. Understanding your source of power, and you have great source of power. There is a part of you that is connected to your higher self, because you feel there's a part of you that's spiritual here, group 1, and you feel that spiritual aspect because you are connected. You know, you feel supported in some ways. You're being called right now, pile 1, to find ways of being strong that are different. Connecting to your voice. How do you feel? When we start connecting to our voice, that I feel this way, that's us validating it. So the less we suppress and the more we validate, the more we're able to process things. If somebody has spoken to me in a way that's really upset me, if I just go, oh, I'm letting it go because I don't want conflict, what I'm doing is I'm pushing that down, and then I'll start getting agitated over time the more they keep doing it. The two choices that I have, I can start saying how I feel about it and being like, well, actually, you know, how you dealt with that kind of hurt me, or can we talk about this? Or I could choose to step back if I feel like things aren't going to change. But if I don't say anything and I don't do any action towards it, I'm just going to feel resentful. It's time to start clearing your mind. It's time to start allowing peace. If your mind is busy all the time because you're active all the time, there is no pause to allow any peace in. So what is holding you back, and what you're being asked to do, is as you're seeing things more clearly, and this may be the first time that's leading you to see things more clearly, allowing yourself to know that life is multidimensional. What you see is not how it is. It's just the level of perception you've been taught to see it through. If I've been through trauma and pain like I had, I would believe everyone was going to hurt me, because that's all I knew. But when I started to create safety in my life and started to learn to trust people until they gave me a reason to either work with them and talk with them about how I feel or walk away, I started to learn vulnerability could work for me. Did it mean I was never going to be hurt? Of course it didn't. It meant I was going to start learning how to deal with my pain and not running from it. So you've been called to look at things a little bit differently. Sorry if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. And I do feel that there's a massive part that you're being asked to understand, that within your life, relationships is one of the biggest things that you may need to work on. And that means relationships with yourselves, with others. And that's not that there's anything bad, but you've learned to put a guard up. You possibly have learned to not be vulnerable. You've learned to be independent. You have learned that you only need yourself. But what that brings is isolation. It brings loneliness, and it brings disconnection. Slowly start to allow yourself to realise how you have been hurt by others. And you didn't deserve that hurt. Nobody does. But when we learn to change how we communicate, when we learn to change how we face things and see things, and we learn to live in acceptance more, we can start to realise that other people's problems aren't about us unless they say they are. So when other people are feeling angry or down, that actually isn't something we need to internalise. It's now time to nurture yourself, to start enjoying being around people, maybe judging less and realising that with every expectation there's going to be a disappointment. You've been hurt, my friend, and now is the time to really nurture yourself and see things differently. And it's time to allow yourself to realise you're going to be hurt in life. But if we always fear being hurt, we're always going to build a wall. That means no one can get in. People don't mean to hurt us, and we don't mean to hurt other people. And the ones who do mean to hurt us, we do see in time, and we can choose to step away. But when we choose to see the fact that people push us away the moment we push them away, why? Because that is what they are also used to. I'm hoping, pile 1, that you've got something from that pile. And I'm hoping that you can understand what that is meaning for you. If you do have any questions on how to do this, or please do ask underneath. Again, it might feel intense because looking into the things that are holding us back can. But I think and feel you probably already know some of the things that we have spoken to. You are on a journey, my friend. And when we're on a spiritual journey, that journey is about reconnecting to ourselves and reconnecting to others. And it doesn't always feel comfortable, but it is so worth it. I send you so much love. Hi, pile 2, and welcome to your pick a card. So within this pick a card, I'm going to be looking at what is unconsciously holding you back. And what cycle, what stage within your life are you at? So within these readings that I'm doing on YouTube now, I'm going to be bringing to you understanding healing through tarot. So as a tarot reader, I'm not somebody who looks into the future or tells you what you to do. I am somebody that uses the tarot to empower people to see what is holding them back, see what is affecting them, whether it's behaviours or actions or a place in your life. So when we start to uncover the things within us and we start to see what needs healing and working that way, we are able to start to heal those things, and we're also able to start making more positive changes. Now, positive changes aren't always comfortable. So there are going to be things in my reading that are not going to feel comfortable at times. And unfortunately, that's just how my readings work, because to empower people to grow and create the life that they most want, we have to face the uncomfortable things. So I do have a Facebook page called The Spiritual Hub where I do live readings, and I talk a lot about the spiritual coaching that I do. I do look at my other videos. I have got meditations up on YouTube, and I have got videos about my own journey of trauma and why, as a spiritual healer, I focus on healing and empowerment and growth and change. I do use psychology as well as spiritual tools, because, you know, mind, body and soul, having an understanding and awareness of it all is really impactful. So let's get to group pile number 2. So where are you within your life? What stage are you in? Like the hero's journey, we go through different stages in our life. We go through endings, new beginnings, and these things happen whether you want them to or not. We go through needing to see things differently. We go through times of having to face deep inner pain. There's lots of cycles or stages that we go through. So pile 2, the stage that you are in, the Devil card has come up. Now, I want to say to you first and foremost, I don't read the cards exactly like everyone else. I don't use specific meanings. I use part of meanings, but I do also look and use symbolism. So if you do read the tarot and you look at these and think, that's an awful card, please don't, because I don't look at the cards as good or bad. And even the cards that you deem bad are the ones that can bring the most transformation. So the Devil card, right now in your life, you are seeking instant gratification over change. And what that means is there's things that we do that gives us instant gratification, but it doesn't help us in the long run. And this could be continually picking people that aren't right for us, instant gratification of enjoying spending time with them, but we're seeing the red flags, we're seeing things that are going on, but we're wanting to bypass them. Could be taking drugs. We get it, and I'm not saying this is what you're doing, but we get that buzz and we take them and we slip into taking them at weekends, you know, and saying we're not going to do it again. But that, again, that instant gratification comes in of thinking, oh, but, you know, just doing a little bit will be okay. The instant gratification could be shopping. It could be that you are caught in buying things that you don't necessarily need, but it's bringing you in, you know, happiness instantly. You feel good, but then that doesn't last long. Whatever is going on, you are feeling tied to this, to making choices that bring you happiness in the beginning, but actually long-term pain. And that can work out in several things. You know, when, you know, taking diets and believing that a diet is going to transform us, what that could lead us into, eating all the crap, instant gratification, then feeling shame for it, and then dieting, and then constantly being in those cycles. You are tied to a form of behaviour or part of you that is wanting something different but is doing the same thing. This is not here to shame you. We all do the same things and hope something's going to be different. We live our life exactly the same way every day, hoping that we're going to find happiness at some point. But that doesn't happen. What has to happen for us to create happiness and to create a life that is one that we feel more peaceful in, we have to start making small changes which feel uncomfortable. And those small changes could be, you know, doing things that feel uncomfortable, not helping others all the time, or not saying yes all the time, or stopping that diet and realising, you know, okay, first of all, I'm going to start to learn to love me. I'm going to start to love who I am, so I can start to break this cycle of believing that I need to change, that believing that I'm not worthy of who I am right now. I do feel that you are surrounded by people who are also a little bit similar with this instant gratification, with this doing short-term pleasure to avoid facing long-term gain. And what I mean by that is, in our life, healing is sometimes uncomfortable, so what we do is we end up getting into arguments because that's what we think we have to say at the time. And we continue that cycle. That's short-term pleasure. That's short-term gratification. You feel good for saying how you feel. You feel good for getting it out. They needed to know. But what that does is it leads to constant cycles of arguments, or constant cycles of not being able to feel close to people because, you know, you don't quite know how to manage communication. And this is not shaming anyone. This is saying things that we all do. I did this. I had to learn to heal this. So you're being asked to look at how you're doing things and actually start to feel a bit more uncomfortable with making change. So let's see what is holding you back. So Divine Spirit Angel, what's holding you back? So there is going to be an extended version for those of you that are in my subscribers group on Facebook. And that is a community where I do lives every week. I do pick a cards in there and I do healing videos and things like that. So it's a beautiful group. So if you do want to join that, do pop on over. That's what's holding you back. Okay, those cards. I feel what is holding you back is the fact that you are caught in solitude. You are caught in feeling lost. I feel as if there has been things that have happened in your life that you may be sitting in a bit of anger for. You're like, they did this to me, they created that. And I'm not saying that anger is not a valid emotional feeling, because actually we feel anger for things that happen. We feel anger for the things that people do. But what I am saying is, when we sit there and we feel angry and we feel sad for what's going on in our life, whether it's people or situations, we're disempowering ourselves from believing there is anything we can do about it. And there is always something we can do about things. Whether that is we choose to deal with it differently, or we choose to not engage with the same shit, or we choose to change on a grand scale happens at a small scale first. You have to start making small changes initially. You know, I remember times years ago when I used to have a drink and then I would take drugs, and then I had to learn that to make that, you know, I was like, I'm never going to be able to stop doing this because I'm going out with the same people and things like that, and I don't want to not have fun. But I had to go through uncomfortable change. I had to go through times I was like, I'm not drinking. And it felt uncomfortable at the time to say no, and it felt like I was lonely, but I had to find different ways to enjoy myself. I'm feeling for you, and that doesn't have to resonate with you, and you know, there's going to be some things along my pick of cards that I'm going to share with you. I'm a very open person. I talk about these things in my life because actually the way and the reason that I've got to where I have got is because of the big, you know, not big changes I've made initially, but because of facing things slowly but surely, understanding my life was a journey and not a destination. And I faced many life lessons, and I feel that you have too. And I feel that you may be caught a little bit in, you know, and this is not to shame anyone, but you may be caught a little bit in not knowing how to deal with things. So you just like, you'll get your needs met. You'll ring people maybe when you want something, or because you don't know how to have relationships all the time that feel comfortable for you. So you will see people on your terms, or you may spend time with people on your terms, or things has to be a little bit on your terms, and you're being asked to sit and reflect maybe with this. And this is not a bad thing. Like, every human goes through this because life has to be on our terms sometimes. But when it's a coping mechanism, we do it because we have been hurt in the past and we've been used potentially in the past. So we can end up being caught in coping mechanisms that sees us sometimes a bit caught in selfishness. But you're doing that to protect yourself because you've been hurt. You're not a selfishness does not equal nasty person. And I have to say that to you because I feel such compassion for you, because, you know, this means that it's about allowing yourself to tell people how you feel and what is going on. You're almost isolating yourself and hoping that the answers are going to be given to you. If you don't connect with this pile 2, then please do look for another pile. What's holding you back? I feel another part that is holding you back is you are, you know, and these go under the surface. These aren't, you know, hugely bad things that we do. You know, you don't have to be a drug addict, or you don't. And if you are, that's where you are right now, living in acceptance that how we heal is start recognizing we are right now. But this doesn't have to be so outwardly that your life is destructive, but it is that it's occurring within. You know, it could be that you work too hard. It could be that you're continually feeling like you've got to be the strong one. You've got to work, you've got to create, you've got to do this. But then you're feeling as if, what for you? You know, what is next for you? What is being brought to you? I almost feel that you're chasing your tail. And when I say, you know, being caught potentially in the busyness trap, you could be caught in the fact that you've got to get things done. If I get this done, I've got to get it out the way. But that's leading you to feel stressed all the time. And then you're chasing your tail, hoping that, you know, you're going to have some spare time or some time that you'll be able to do the things that you want. But unless you create that time, it doesn't happen. And I do feel that you have a purpose that you're not potentially standing in. This purpose could be healing. This purpose could be finding a new path in your life that leads you to feel good about yourself. Because there's a part of you that is strong. You're a beautifully strong person. And yes, you communicate, and you might even work in communications. You might work, you know, or you might not work in communications, but you might be really good at, or what you think, really good at communicating, saying how you feel. But you're not always completely truthful with how you're communicating. You say what you think you need to say. You're allowing yourself to maybe hide parts of what, you know, you think you need to say because you don't want to offend anyone or hurt anyone. Part of your transformation, because this is what you're being called to do. The Hermit is a real powerful card, and you're being called inwards to use this time to understand what are the traps. You're being guided, and I don't think you know that, but you are. And the light is being given but one step at a time. Martin Luther King said, don't look at the whole staircase when you're wanting to climb it, take one step at a time. If you look at the whole staircase, you're never going to climb it because you'll think, I'll never get there. I'll be too tired. You're being shown things one step at a time. And I'm not saying that you mean to be selfish, but what I am saying is that you might be caught in the energy of, I've just got to focus on my life, just got to focus on me. And this is leaving you feeling and missing out on deeper connections, missing out on finding your purpose. Your purpose doesn't have to be a job. Your purpose is what lights your life. Is that spending more quality time with children or grandchildren? Is that spending more time relaxing or gardening? Those are purposes too. When we've been taught to do what feels comfortable, but what feels comfortable has been conditioned in us, which was right, you know, working, doing all of this, doing all of that, living life like that. But that's not going to bring you happiness. By slowing down and recognizing whatever you're going through right now, you're going through because you're needing to understand the cycle of pause and reflect. You're doing things because you're used to doing them. You're caught in the cycle of the same behaviours. There are some behaviours that you're being called to change. Now, how do you change that? You focus on one behaviour at a time. Start to sit in the uncomfortableness of the behaviour. Start to talk to yourself kinder and acknowledge why you're doing that. You know, when I was drinking and things, I had to acknowledge I was doing that because I wanted to escape. When I started to connect to myself and want to feel myself, I realised I didn't want to escape no more. I needed to feel things. You're being called to do some inner child work, and I feel for you emotionally, you might, and I'm not saying you're stunted emotionally, but what I am saying is there's a connection from your childhood that you're being asked to explore. You're being asked to explore how it impacted you. Maybe this is with a parent, maybe this is with somebody else, But there is some things around a relationship in childhood you're being asked to explore, because emotionally there is some healing that needs to be done around this relationship. Maybe you felt rejected. Maybe something happened. I'm not asking you to explore the trauma. Maybe you might want to seek somebody out. Someone like myself who helps empower people to heal, or a therapist, but there is something within your childhood that you're asked to reconnect to, because there's a part of you that is still caught in trying to meet the need that the child didn't get met, which is the child within you. You're needing to feel like you've got it all under control, but actually what has happened is, from childhood there's been some things that you've adapted to, and what are they like? So when we adapt to things, we learn ways in childhood to cope, to get through it, whether that's achieving, becoming a high achiever, whether that's learning to shut down and not share how you feel, whatever it is, there's ways, I've got an inner child meditation on my YouTube. Do that one. Allow yourself to connect back to your inner child. Emotionally, what is holding you back is you're giving too much from your cup. You're finding peace almost from draining yourself emotionally. And now you've come a point in your life, I feel that you have had to retreat. You've had to retreat away, and that's probably where the selfishness is coming from, you having to do this. I do feel for you, group and pile 2, that maybe emotionally you're not knowing how to balance those emotions. I do feel for you that you're potentially struggling to balance your emotions and struggling to understand what your emotions mean. Emotions have meanings, whether that's from the past or the now. The reason why we get triggered in the here and now from our emotions is because there's something from the past that you haven't quite dealt with that has led you to be emotionally trapped. I'll give you an example. When I was shouted at as a child all of the time, when I become an adult, when anyone shouted at me, initially I would shut down, and then I would get, over time, really angry and I'd flip out. Emotionally, I didn't know how to deal with it. I was either shutting down or flipping out, because I didn't know a healthy way to deal with the fact that I was triggered when people shouted at me because I felt not good enough. I felt like that child again. I'm not saying that's what's happened, but what I am saying is there's some emotional triggers that whether it's with an ex-partner or a partner that you're with, they've invalidated you. And growing up at school, you were invalidated. You were told to be quiet. You've got nothing worthwhile saying. So when people do that in adulthood, you feel invalidated again. And when your emotions are not being able to be felt, so every day you're being asked to connect your emotions. How do you feel? Doesn't mean you're feeding into them. It means you're wanting to understand them. Emotions are vital and important. And if we just go every day trying to bat everything off, you're suppressing it. On my page, on YouTube, I have how to regulate your emotions, understanding emotional regulation. That might be a video that could be worthwhile watching. Emotionally, you're applying so much into how you think you should deal with things. You're being given peace right now within your life. Whatever you're going through, I feel like you're going through something a little heavy, whether you're admitting it to others or not. You're going through something a little heavy. And I do feel that this is a time now that you explore, the emotion. So the first card could be gratification, could be you're shoving down your feelings. So every day when somebody pisses you off or something happens, you just shove down your feelings. That's instant gratification because you feel good because you haven't reacted, you feel okay, you're getting on with your day, you don't feel bothered. And then 3 days later, somebody says something to you and you get really upset and you feel down, you can't stop thinking about it. That means that those things that you were shoving down hadn't been dealt with. So every day, asking yourself, how do I feel? If somebody does something that you get a pang in your stomach for, you feel angry for, explore it. Why do I feel angry? I feel angry because actually I'm constantly invalidated. People always tell me I'm wrong. Okay, so next time, as time goes on, starting to go, excuse me, I'm not wrong, or please can you listen to me because I am important. Starting to find your voice in a healthier way so that people don't begin to invalidate you all the time, or people don't expect a lot from you, and the fact that you can't meet that all the time. What's holding you back, I feel, is you're caught in why is everything happening like it is. Because you're being called to find yourself. First and foremost, you're being called to look at the cycle of instant gratification. What are you shoving down? What are you just trying to bypass? What you're going through right now is actually something really good, and it doesn't feel good, and I know that. And even though your whole life doesn't feel like it has to be crumbling for me to be saying that you're going through something. This is an internal battle if it isn't an external one. But this is happening because you're being asked to explore the change of behaviour. Behaviour changes are important, and we do them slowly. Recognising that not feeling things is only going to lead to suppression. Recognising shutting down and not seeing people is only going to lead to loneliness. Finding that balance of saying what you feel when you feel it, but owning it in a way that's healthy. Allowing someone else to get angry by it, but that's up to them to get angry by it. Own it. If you feel that and that makes them angry, that's something they have to deal with. But learning new ways to communicate, owning that you don't, maybe there's a part of you that's quite rigid in communication at times. Maybe there's a part of you that's quite stern. It is what it is. This is how it is. We don't always have to be that way. When we've been denied our voice for so long, we sometimes become quite stern in our voice. We sometimes become quite dominating. And sometimes it might only happen at times. Look at how I'm talking to you now. How we say something's important. If I say I'm really annoyed with what you've done there, I can't believe that you've done that. Someone's going to get their back up. But if I went to them and that's why a lot of people don't say things, because they're afraid they're going to say it that way. Or we can go to someone and say, I really need to speak to you about this because I'm feeling really hurt by the things that have occurred. They might not be okay with what we've said, but we've said it in a way that is not attacking, that is not mean. And if somebody else can't accept that or work with us with that, there's nothing we can do about that. So I'm hoping, Pile, to, and don't feel down about what's being said. And I can't say don't feel down, but what I want to say to you is these things happen for great reason. When we are faced with these times in our life that feel sad or feel chaotic or feel like, how are we going to change? Change happens slow. It happens when you focus on small things. Focus on one behaviour that's something that's happening time and time again. I'll give you an example. I used to always run away every time I'd get in an argument with my partner. So initially I'd fight and argue, and then I didn't like fighting and arguing anymore. So I was like, I've got to change this. So then what I started to do is I started to run away. I started to get in my car, drive off, because I felt this need. I had to get away. I'm panicking. And then that would create a situation that was just longer, drawn out. Now, yes, we have to sometimes remove ourselves from situations, but when you're doing it all of the time, it's unhealthy. So I then had to start sitting with the fact that when things were occurring, I don't have to fight back, because he wasn't having a go at me. He was just a bit moody. I didn't have to create a scene. I could sit with how I felt. I didn't need to run from it. I didn't need to argue it. I could feel it. And then when I felt what I needed to feel, I can go back and speak about it in a calm way. When I started to change that, and I started to slowly do that gradually and have compassion for myself when I wasn't able to do that, I've now long-term changed it. I don't do it no more. I don't shout and scream, and I don't run away. And it's taken time, but we are not running for a destination here. We're running for a journey. So pile 2, I hope that you can take your cards. Please know that you are going to be able to do this with small change and small understandings. You are absolutely able to change your life. If you have any questions, or if there's anything I can help you with, do ask them below. As much information as I can give you and talk, I will, to my ability. So I'm now going to be going into the extra part for my group. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So in this reading, I'm going to be looking at what is holding you back. The readings that I look at are not here to tell you your future. They're not here to tell you what's coming. Specifically, this reading is here for me to use psychology and my spiritual understanding and awareness, like my page, to look at what needs healing. What do you need to face? What do you need to see? What is unconsciously holding you back? My YouTube page is a mixture of meditation videos, healing videos, and awareness, knowledge videos, and will be tarot videos. So I'm a little nervous because this is like the first one that I've done for YouTube. Not the first one I've done ever, of course, but the first one I've done for YouTube. So we're going to be looking in today to see what is holding you back. I'm going to first of all look at what stage you are in within your life. So if anyone's aware of the hero's journey, it's a part of tarot, but just like the hero's journey, we go through different phases and cycles within our life. Cycles of leveling up, cycles of endings, new beginnings, of seeing things more clearly, of understanding cycles, of attachments, of there's just so many cycles that we go through, so many different phases. And when we understand what phase we're in and the energy that we're in at the particular time, we can actually start to utilize that and start to understand why things are occurring. So I'm going to be looking at the phase that you're in right now. And the phase that you're in right now is understanding your true potential. I feel as if you have had some form of awakening, or you have had some form of inner child healing, or you've been through some big healing within your life that is leading you to actually be more connected to your mind, body and soul. Now, I feel that you must have done some healing on yourself, whether you understand it's spiritual healing, whether you understand how impactful it's been on your life. There has been some mind, body and soul healing here, which has meant that you have processed some emotions, you have processed some grief. You are actually potentially further than the other two piles, because the other two piles are still caught in some cycles and things. But the stage you are in is, pile 1 and 2 are very connected, which is weird, but this one's completely different. The stage you are in is recognizing your potential. You have come through so much, and granted there may be more healing that needs to happen, but you need to first of all recognize the potential that you have, recognize what you have already come through and what you've already faced and dealt with, meaning your ability to be able to do that in future is there. There is a part of you that is wanting to bud. Okay, it's a part of you that's budding, but there's a part of you that wants to bloom. So you have bloomed into some form of healing, but there is the next level that is waiting for you. And this is going to take you some courage, okay? I'm feeling as if you're going to be led. So you might be facing some triggers emotionally and mentally through things that you've been through. And this might be leading you to question at times, how far have you come? Has your healing really been as impactful as you thought? And yes, hands down, yes. You have nurtured emotions. You have nurtured yourself and got yourself through financial problems. You've got yourself through problems of not knowing who you are. And it doesn't mean that you're there. This by no means, we're never there. I'm a teacher, but I'm still a student. This means that you have accomplished quite a bit without you even realizing. So either you are a spiritual person that has worked on inner child work and shadow work, or you're not necessarily knowing you're a spiritual person, but you have undertaken this work without even realizing, which is really quite impactful. I feel that you have learned to tap into some masculine energy. So you are somebody that appreciates and understands the doing. So your self-awareness is there, and obviously there's more healing and growing that will need to happen, but you have come quite far. So you're being asked in this space within your life right now, recognize your potential. Now is the time to step into that masculine energy. Now is the time to start using. So, this could be that everything that you've been through is going to help you help another. Maybe you want to be a counsellor. Maybe you want to help in work and services. Whatever it is, I feel that part of your purpose is the things that you have been through too. Whether that means you're a spiritual reader, whether you're a tarot reader, whatever your purpose is, you're being asked to see it for the next level now. So what is unconsciously holding you back? You are being asked, I don't know if you've ever done any work around the I. So if you are spiritual, you might know a little bit about what I mean, but if you're not, please just listen to what I'm going to say. When we look at the I, we look at the part of ourselves that says, I am a good person. And we look at why we're a good person. I'm a good person because I do as I'm told. I'm a good person because I'm there for everyone else. Well, that doesn't make you a good person. That might make you a walkover. Or I am a hard worker, meaning I go to work from 9 till 5 every day, slog my guts out, give everything to that business. Well, you being a hard worker isn't actually empowering you in your own life because you're giving so much of yourself away. Maybe you might want to set your own business up. Maybe you might want to lessen your hours or change your job. Looking at the eyes, who do you think you are? What do you believe you are? Because when we have set who we think we are, that's our limitations. When we think, well, I'm here to help others. So people focus on they're here to help others, which means they help everyone else at the detriment to themselves. I'm not good enough. I won't be able to achieve that. I won't have enough time. I don't know who I am. I don't know how I'm going to get past that. Those eyes are limitations. And even when you say I'm good enough, sometimes that's a limitation. When we say I'm good enough and we're not putting more effort in when we could. So exploring about the root chakra for you, I feel like the root chakra might need a little healing around your sense of security. Your sense of safety. Sorry, if you can hear noise at the top, it's the children, but I don't want to keep stopping the recording. You might have developed ways about you. That means that you're quite focused on who you think you should be. So you could type into Google, what's the spiritual meaning of I? Like looking at the definitions of the eyes that you created. I am this, I am that. Because we aren't really anything. Yes, we are who we are here, but we aren't those limitations. I am not just a spiritual reader. I am a mum. I am if I just keep defining myself in the I's and the I ams, I'm going to be caught. I wouldn't have stepped into spiritual teaching if I just stuck with that I'm a tarot reader and a medium. But as I evolved and as I grew, Spirit and the Divine led me to use all of my knowledge to be able to empower people through their healing. So that's how we can be defined by it. Okay, so we have Temperance. Wow. Wow. Okay. Beautiful cards. What's holding you back? What's holding you back is the belief in yourself. You have high intuition and you have grown, okay? And I want to say to you, a path is being opened up for you to take. And I feel that emotionally you're a little bit scared to take this path. Maybe this path is of counselling courses or learning more about yourself or delving deeper or doing more shadow work. It could even be exploring yourself after a relationship breakup. The path is being shown to you, and I think you know this path, but I do think that you're slightly scared to step on this path. You don't know whether it's your intuition leading you on this path or whether it's, you're almost waiting for some kind of answer or clarification. For one, I hope this is the answer and clarification. And for two, start learning to trust in yourself. You are a spiritual being, okay, group 3. You are here for spiritual growth, spiritual evolution. I do feel in some way to spiritually help others, whether that is a spiritual teacher, whether that's a tarot reading. This might not be for everyone, okay? And spiritual, everyone's here as a spiritual person, but some of us have different roles that we're here to play or different purposes. And one of your spiritual purposes here is to delve deeper into spiritual knowledge. I'm really being called to look at things differently in perspectives. Look at yourself, connect to your higher self meditations. Look on my YouTube, there is one there for you. Go and do it, because you are being asked to connect to your, the divine feminine within you. Not everything is black and white. You may be somebody who doesn't feel very spiritual, but actually is starting to dabble a little bit and think, oh, I wouldn't mind a little bit more. This is absolutely still the pile for you. You're being asked to learn more spiritually. You're being asked to learn about healing, about shadow work, about inner child work. Because I feel that this is going to play a part in your life. I also want to say to you that life isn't black and white. Quite often we either think it's good, bad, up or down. But you know what? There's a story out there about a young man who broke his leg. Okay, and the story's a lot more than this. I'm just going to give this little instance. The man broke his leg, and everyone said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that you broke your leg. That must be such a, a hard thing to deal with. You're not able to work. You're not able to do this. And the young man was just like, no, it's giving me time and space to reevaluate my life and rethink my life. Now, we shouldn't have to break our leg to do that, but every situation offers an opportunity to see something different. And it doesn't mean that we can't grieve if somebody dies or if something happens. And it doesn't mean we can't feel the sadness or feel whatever is going on from that. But what it does mean is, once we've started to process those thoughts and feelings, start to understand, what are we here to learn from that? Some things are just shit. Death, some things are just hard to, death of children and things like that. And there isn't no real rhyme or reason to that. But there can come evolution and growth from those times. Okay, so the Knight of Cups. I think part of what is holding you back is the fact that you are quite shut down emotionally. So this is definitely one of the things that you're going to need to explore. For you to connect to your higher self and delve deeper spiritually, you're going to have to start to understand how you face things emotionally. Do you believe that being the strong one means that you're resilient? Or are you realizing that actually you're not as vulnerable as you think you are? You don't share your emotions with others. You might act like you share your emotions with others. You might act like you are vulnerable, but that may be when you choose to be. Do you allow yourself to be vulnerable when crisis is happening? Do you allow yourself to be vulnerable when something does, has the potential to be judged? I feel like you're being asked to overcome something emotionally. And that means you're being asked to face the fact that emotions are a big part of life. And actually, just like anything, if we go through life trying to be the resilient one, not really facing or tuning into our emotions, we won't understand what your emotions are trying to tell you. Emotions are there for a reason. If you're sad and angry, your emotions are telling you there's something you need to release. You don't just try and bypass that sad and anger and hope for a better day tomorrow. And if you do that, this is asking you to start allowing yourself to recognise that that is detrimental to you. You are a nurturer. You are somebody with extreme feminine energy, even if you're masculine, even if you're male. Males and females have masculine and feminine energy. But you're being called to nurture yourselves through this period of deep inner work that you're possibly doing. You're being asked to allow that feminine to be there, but don't allow that feminine to be all of you. And what I say is, we can obviously often look at ourselves as, and even if you're masculine, maybe it's you're trying to support a wife, or you're trying to, whoever's watching this, the feminine energy is the energy of just being and going with the flow. And when we're sitting in that too long and we're not masculine, it means we're not owning our thoughts and feelings. We're not owning, how to move forward. We're just sitting in, let's plod along. And sometimes that energy can be quite detrimental. So while it's lovely to have feminine energy, you need to have that masculine energy so you can understand how to move forward. You understand that small action needs to take place. My tarot business, my work, this platform isn't really big, but my Facebook, I have 36,000 followers. That started at 0. And it's taken time and time and time. And what it took more than anything was commitment. It took commitment to knowing that by doing something I love and connecting with people, if it grew, well, it was going to naturally grow. And if it didn't, then I'd have to reevaluate what I was doing and where I was going or putting my energy best. But when you're connecting to your higher self and you're living your life, doing things that are leading you to purpose, to personal growth, you will not always see outcomes straight away. But you have to recognize that outcomes do come with commitment and time. The masculine has to be used for that, because if we constantly sit in, well, if it will come to me, it will come to me, that's great. Whatever's meant to be will find me, but that's great. But you can't sit in that receptive energy without having a little bit of action. It's about balance. We have to have the doing as well as the being. And I feel what is holding you back is there is potentially you focusing on where you want to be, but also what has gone wrong. If we continually look at, you're stuck because you're looking at the future of what I want, but then you're looking at what isn't working. That's not allowing you to be in the here and now. You're being asked to turn around and look. There is 3 cups that you're looking at that have gone wrong, or situations are going wrong, but look at what's still remaining. There is hope when there are things still remaining. But when we focus on the future and the past, we are never ever in the present. And it's great to be able to look to the future and have some plans. But if we look to the future and base our worries from now on and catastrophize and look at the future and say, well, it's not going to work out because right now things aren't completely going to plan, you're going to end up stunting yourself. You're going to end up stopping before you've even started. So it's about understanding, yes, some things might not be working out, and that's okay. That does not mean that you're not going to achieve what it is you want to achieve. And it's great to have your eye on the ball in the future of what you want to manifest and create, but don't stay fixated there. You're being asked to sit in the energy of pause. But not pausing meaning not doing anything. Pausing meaning disconnecting from your monkey mind, from the part of your mind that's telling you this is how it should be, this is how far you should have moved forward, you should be doing better than you are now, you should have accomplished this. There's a part of your inner critic that sees you fearing your future and fearing you not being good enough. Allow yourself to sit with those thoughts and feelings. Allow yourself to sit with the fact that you have such high standards that you're never always going to meet. There's lots of things that you have been through under your belt, and they are part of your future because they are there within your past. But if you focus on them, they're going to keep you caught. You're going through a transition right now, okay, which is going to lead to great change. This great change is going to happen fast. So things are going to happen at some point. You're going to feel as if that things are going to gather momentum, but this is going to happen naturally, okay? This is going to happen when you keep doing what you're doing. You might feel like you're chasing your own tail, but you're not. Doing the same thing and getting a bad outcome is different from commitment to something. Commitment to something says, I can see some growth is happening. It might not be as quick as I want, but I can see that growth is happening. So while I see that growth is happening, I'm just going to keep doing what I know I'm connected to, doing what I feel drawn to doing. Because the great growth is there in your future. What you're doing for now may feel like you go through spurts. So things happen, growth is happening, and then it stops and it's stagnant. Then growth happens again. But that's how it's meant to happen. Because you're meant to be feeling in between the growth of who you are. And this could be in business, this could be in life, this could be, in general. You're going to feel like it's stopping and starting, but that is okay. Lean into it. Start going with the flow of life. Start realising that you can't be in your head about things that are going on. What's holding you back is believing that things should be further along than they are. What's holding you back is believing that right here and now isn't where you're meant to be. What's holding you back is the need for you to have almost some form of instant gratification. You need to see results now. And this is saying to you, you're tied to what you believe results should look like. We're tied to believe that results are external, such as extra followers on Facebook, or a job doing better, or you should have a home by now, or you should be out of debt by now, or you should have a job by now. Well, really, it's about finding peace, isn't it? It's about finding contentment with who we are. It's about slowly stepping into different forms of purposes and doing things that feel right while pushing ourselves out of comfort zones. You're not as tied to your thoughts as you think you are. You think that your thoughts are consuming you and telling you things should be different, but you're not as tied to them as you think you are. There is a situation that you're going to have to face an ending of, and this may be how you deal with things. This may be the expectations that you have are quite high. This isn't necessarily on a business. This is in general, because this is unfortunately a general reading. But it's about understanding that you have to let go of the thought of who you should be. You have to let go of the definitions, like the eyes that you are giving to yourself. These eyes that I should be better, I should be doing more, I should be earning more money, I should be doing this. It's coming, I promise you, I can see it. It's coming, but what it's saying to you is you have to allow things to end naturally so new things can come in. And it could be friendships, it could be relationships. But I feel it's situational. It could be the end of believing things should be a certain way. I also feel what is going to end for you, I do feel there's some inner child work that is going to need to continue. If you don't know what inner child work is starting to heal from the things that we've been through in childhood, understanding why we do the things we do in adulthood because of how we were taught to deal with things in childhood. There's an inner child within you that's going to start allowing creativity to come forward. So that means you might start doing social media posts, you might start a small business up. Your inner child wants to be creative. You might start art, you might start doing something that lights your soul, going horse riding. You're going to start doing something that, brings that creativity out in us and stops you being in the humdrum of life, meaning we're basically just getting through life. We're basically just doing what we've got to do. You're going to start changing it up. Something's going to come forward. There's going to be a new journey that you're going to be on. It's going to be a part of your old journey, of course, but it's going to be one with greater creativity. It's going to be one where the seriousness of who you should be and what you should be is going to start diminishing. You're going to realise how much stress you've put on yourself with expectations. You're going to realise how much you are holding yourself back with this perfectionism you may have. And I do have a video on my YouTube about perfectionism. There is standards here you have for how you think life should be. Life really just is. And we do get a choice in how we label that. Every human being goes through shit. Some people, yes, absolutely do go through worse shit than others, but nobody is exempt from it. Nobody is exempt from going through things that are really going to break them. And if we believe that we can only find happiness when things start to get better, well, you're going to spend the rest of your life miserable. Life doesn't get better until we face things differently, until we realise that we sometimes can hold ourselves back. Allowing ourselves to work through mental health, maybe doing some cognitive behavioural therapy to understand the thought process, allowing yourself to realise where that's come from. Maybe you had a parent who was negative, who always looked at the worst side of life. Maybe because things have gone wrong so much, this has just developed within you. Allowing yourself to recognise it's holding you back. We can do free courses on CBT. We can research CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, how we can start to challenge negative thoughts or thoughts that are holding us back. Things are going to change for you, but first you have to change things for yourself. First you have to recognise that things that are holding you back is the belief that things should be different from what they are. It's the belief that you should be further than you are. Everything is working out just as it should be. Lean into acceptance. You will start to have a more fulfilling life when you realise that you can change what you can change and you can't what you can't. And what you can't change, you can change how you deal with it. Start allowing things to just be more. Start allowing yourself to realise you can have more time to rest. You can have more time to relax. You don't have to have things a certain way. Allow yourself to enjoy that creativity. Allow yourself to take this next journey where you will be creating a lot more and you will be building things that way. And even if that's doing mindful art or doing something that leads you to connect to yourself, it will empower you to tap into a different form of your energy. So I hope you can take that reading. I am now going to be doing an extended version for my subscribers group. If you're not in my subscribers group on Facebook, I do have a subscribers group, which is a supporters group, and that's where extended versions go. So if you do have any questions or anything you want to give from that reading, tell me what you're going to change, or what is it you think this resonates to. Let me know so we can connect. Thank you so much for listening to my readings, and I've hoped you enjoyed them.